Today, Bruce is in control as the GM, and we learn what he considers the luckiest thing to happen to a player. Let me describe the situation. So this began when Bruce's last game went on permanent hiatus, and he wanted something to fill in the time. He decided that he would do a Legend of the Five Rings game, since it was the system/setting he had the most experience with. For those of you who don't know, it's a pseudo-medieval Japan with magic and Oni wandering around. I've heard from many friends that while Bruce was a pain to deal with in most settings, he was rated as one of the best GMs in the country for Legend of Five Rings games for the game's living story. So, since I had lost my game for that slot, I decided why not. It would be nice to pass the time with. But as usual with Bruce, he managed to make it as unenjoyable as possible. To start, Bruce stated that every character was 14 to 16 years old and spent their time training to become a samurai for the Crab Clan, high in the mountains. There wasn't much wiggle room for character personality, but I managed to land on a 15-year-old boy that was dumb, stoic, but kind-hearted. I knew this was Bruce we were dealing with, so when we were going through character creation, I made sure to max out the lucky trait. This hindered me in a few areas, but gave me a fallback to deal with Bruce's poop. I remember him muttering pre-session to himself as to how he was going to target me now that I had this trait maxed out. Anyway, the game starts with all members of the party waking up late to morning training. This wasn't helped by the fact that the only NPC here was the serf, kindly letting the players know that they were a disgrace to their clan for forgoing training, and that we don't deserve to be graced as a samurai. So not even 2 minutes in, and we're already being berated by the GM. So of course, everyone began hurrying about trying to find their way to the training yard, and each player was given their own time in the spotlight as to how they accomplished it. Eventually, it came to my turn to be in Bruce's headlights. I began by wandering around the temple, trying to find any landmarks that would lead to the training grounds, because for some reason, our characters didn't know where to go after Bruce stated that we had lived at the temple for the past 8 years of our lives. Eventually, after wandering around for 15 to 20 minutes, I came across a noblewoman dressed in colors from a faraway clan. She turned to me and asked, "You, young noble, can you please help me back to my living quarters? This place is confusing, and I seem to be lost." Seeing that abandoning her would bring disgrace to my clan, I decided to help her find her way. Because somehow, I knew my way to the guest quarters, but not the training grounds. About 10 to 15 minutes have passed, and we arrive at our quarters. The noble thanked me, but before I left, I turned to her and asked, "Can I please have a written and signed note from you, so I don't get castrated by my masters?" Knowing that Bruce could make things a nightmare since I had no proof of helping anyone, she agreed, quickly writing it up, stamping it with her seal, and letting me on my way. I was thinking to myself that I got away from Bruce's wrath. Maybe I actually was lucky, but lucky seemed to have a different meaning in Bruce's head. With a formal excuse for being late and a grin on my face, I wandered towards the training grounds. After about 10 seconds, I hear a shriek from down the hall, so I immediately run back down the hall towards the guest quarters and find the noblewoman panicking outside of her room. I asked her what was wrong, and she replied, "There's this small crawling thing in my room. Can you please remove it for me?" I told her I would help. Bruce looked at me and asked how I was going to accomplish this. I told him I would look under the wardrobes and all the corners until I found it, and either toss it out or kill it. Bruce gave me the okay and let me begin my search. About midway through my search, I heard him roll some dice. Thinking that I was about to be ambushed by the small thing, he looked at me and asked, "Does a 38 grapple you?" I looked through my stats and told him yes it did. He then described that the noblewoman snuck up behind me while I was in the corner, pinned me down, and began tying me up with rope. This was followed by the noble saying, "This is your lucky day, young one." As she began taking her clothes off, Bruce made sure I knew that I lasted 4 hours. I was amazed at what was happening, and the other players seemed to be wondering the same thing. Why? Throughout the whole experience, I remember him trying to play the whole thing off with comedic effect. Bruce claimed, "This is one of the luckiest things that could happen to your character." After that atrocity, he said, "You wake up with loose ropes around you, torn pants, and no idea of what just happened." I then remember I was still late to class, so after cleaning myself up, I headed to the training grounds. When I arrived, I was greeted by one of the masters who proceeded to throw a tetsubo at my character. From the hit alone, it actually nearly killed my character in one shot. While in a daze from a concussion, the noblewoman walked out, praising me for serving her and chastising the master for daring to punish her little helper like that. She then turned to me and whispered with a coy smile on her face, "I'm always looking for more help," before walking back inside. After this, I lost all interest in the game, since it seemed I was going to be used as a love slave. I kept attending 2 or 3 more sessions just to hang out with friends, but eventually I left altogether. Apparently the game derailed from there, and it was put on another permanent hiatus. Thank goodness. You know things are bad when the happy ending is that the game went on permanent hiatus. So let's look at this situation. An underage child has a forceful encounter with some rich person? I feel like I heard this somewhere before. Anywho, this is the luckiest thing that Bruce could think up of? That's disturbing. Speaking of which, you will find in the next story a little more about Bruce's preferences. But for now, what do you think of this Bruce tale?